We're live. I'm trying to get to the chat. Here we go. All right, welcome in. Recruiting Power Hour-ish. Shea Dixon in the building. Thank you for coming in, Shea. Stewie on the ones and twos. Thank you, sir. That's our real recruiting expert. It's not me. I can guarantee you that. It's Stewie in the corner and Shea Diesel over there.
In my new gear.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he had to flip the hat around because the on-3 hat's on. The on-3 sweatshirt is in. On-3 underwear. On-3 puff bar. He's got it all. We're sponsored
across the board at this point.
Yeah, show sold out.
Everything.
Brought to you by Lance Beal, also attorney at law.
Shout out to Lance.
We're checking out this Chase Minka picture right now.
Unbelievable.
This is double birds.
Is this middle of the game?
This is definitely middle of the game.
Yeah,
they're on the field.
Had to be like dirt,
this has to be after something. Yeah, after the touchdown, and it's like, all right, this game's over. Little do I know that we didn't recruit a long snapper. We got a backup tight end that hadn't snapped since high school that floats one back there. Gets the Bengals in trouble. Double bird, gone. Or maybe that's what spawned Minka to block the PAT.
Minka's a dog.
Minka got that black Air Force One energy.
I've seen what happens.
He didn't have to buy one. He didn't have to buy a pair.
But did you know that all the black Air Force Ones were sold out? So he bought white Air Force Ones and got them painted black.
That's even more black Air Force One energy.
That's
terrifying. Yeah, that's Patrick Beverly.
Like, you know what? I think I'm gonna paint these black.
Yeah. Say, hey, equipment guy, we got one more job for you. Yeah. I have 53 pairs of white Air Force Ones. We got to get them.
Get them black by Sunday.
I have a quick question. This is the as we let everybody roll into the chat moment here, where we're
filibuster
just killing time. Did the Kingmaker, Jordy Culotta himself, ever locate the young gentleman who took a stroll, spring game style, onto the field?
No, we're still on the hunt for this man. We have a name.
Well, right, I saw that.
And then he said that guy was in the suites before the game, though. Like wherever Jordy was lurking around. And he said that he obviously didn't belong in there. He kind of was like...
Oh, just walked in there too?
It was like moon pie and like moon faced in there. And people were like, hey, bro, I think you're like in the wrong suites, in the wrong section. He goes... Maybe so, man. Maybe so. And then he like kind of sauntered out. And they said when they saw him on the field, like, that's the guy that was in. He was in our suite. And so he made it all the way from the suites down.
Whoever said you needed a pass to get into any? I mean,
walk around like you own the joint, dude. Yeah. You'll get. I mean, he could have stayed on the field for as long as he wanted until he literally got on the field. I've never seen somebody get out there.
He was just.
The Forrest Gump
hands on hips.
Hands on hips, just
that was such.
I mowed this lawn.
That was such big head coach spring game energy
Absolutely.
vibe. Like, the play's going on. I'm just standing right here.
He wasn't even watching the play though.
No,
he just got on the field and was like,
"Hell yeah,
I'm really here.
It's worth it."
I like how like Jaquelin and all them, like the D linemen, are like rotating and like just like walk right by him, or whoever that guy is.
What's up, bro?
Was it who's two? Kyron Lacey?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was walking off the field. He points. He's the only one that pointed at him and noticed.
Oh, no,
it was
like,
it was Mekhi Gardner. It was like, well, I wonder what he's doing out here. And then eventually he got caught. Then he wants to throw hands with the police.
Great hands with the cops, too. Like
he thought he
was
supposed to be out there.
That were like, this didn't happen at my old school.
Welcome to LSU. Brian Kelly was
Y'all
like,
got people out there?
Mekhi Gardner's like, this don't happen in Lafayette,
No,
coach.
Same people. Just don't let them on the field yet. But I couldn't believe it. The fact that he got on while the play was being run. I mean, if we make a better call there, he might catch a swing pass.
Yeah.
You know, maybe make a tackle. Do something for the team.
Oh my God, how legendary would it have been if he would have like made a play on a ball or something?
Picks it, takes it to the house. Instead, he just got arrested.
It was a misdemeanor summons.
Worth it.
Oh, that's like.
I think you get that for jaywalking, let alone like you got to just. And he was in the suites, which he didn't catch a charge on that.
No, he got a couple snacks. Yeah, got a drink, obviously. But to be able, I think it's worth going to jail for. He didn't have to go to jail.
No, they let you walk away when you're outside the stadium. Yeah. Lord knows where he was then.
Yeah, I mean, Brent got arrested again.
I mean, that dude, he probably went to Tigerland and just like got hammered. Like, he's gonna tell his kids about this, his grandkids.
There's no point in arresting him either because he'll just stroll out of there. Where did he go?
Because Houdini.
Yes.
Unbelievable. The thing that makes it so worth it, like no matter the amount of like charges or what of trouble he'd have gotten in. He's one of one. Nobody has ever gotten on the field while the play was being run and then just absolute power stance in the middle of the field.
No.
Like, that'll never happen again.
Ever.
He's a legend.
They're about to beef up on security just because of him.
Dude, imagine that Monday meeting.
Well, that's
In
the other. What is
Landmark.
it like? Yeah, landmark. If I'm landmark, I'm like,
He's probably like,
nah. My rule number 1 was don't go on the field. I'm not going out. This is set up.
He told me that he could.
Yeah.
You had
This
to talk
is a
to this
setup.
guy. Yeah.
He showed me a pass on his phone.
It's a
or
wizard. He
something.
said his dad works for the school. I don't know. He got out there. But it goes to show, the less you do, the cooler you act, the farther you can get. The sprint, you get tackled. The saunter.
Well, when you're naked and you're out there, it's you're getting tackled. If
Yeah.
you just casually stroll out there fully clothed,
I mean,
should he be there? Is
this-
that one of Brian Kelly's kids?
Right. That springs the next step. Do you go, all right, next time, LSU polo, official khaki pants.
The ref jersey.
Yeah,
Just see how long you're out
something
there.
To where it's like, wow, that guy looks like he belongs. Because you can definitely get on the sideline and kind of fake it until you run into somebody that's like,
You don't belong.
you don't.
here.
Who are you with? Like, who do you know here? It's like, oh, nobody.
I don't know.
I'll go. Let me hop the fence the other way.
We'll go back that way.
But if we want to get into a little bit of recruiting, Shea,
Yeah, let's do it.
I'll let you take the lead on this. Maybe hit on a couple of things that we'll talk about. We'll let the chat build up, and then we'll take some questions from the crew in the chat.
All right, cool. Let's start. Where do y'all want to start? With Toviano?
Yeah,
Let's just start with what we were just talking
start
about.
with what we know.
Let's start with the game, the weekend. That homeboy was not the only recruit down on the field. This is a segue.
Not the only fan of LSU that was out there.
Five-star.
Yeah, right. They had a bunch of visitors for a non-conference game, which typically, if it's a big one, it's now played at a neutral site. So for a non-conference home game, it's not usually a big visitor weekend, right? You'll get the commits in, you'll get some kids for the next classes in, but this was about as impressive of a visitor list as you could have for a non-conference game because it's your opener. It was sold out, and they really made a point to invite a lot of kids in. And whether that was current commits now for this year, whether that's targets for this year, we'll talk about a couple of them in a minute. But Javian Toviano was there, a top 5 DB out of Texas. DJ Chester, arguably their top offensive line target left, was there. And then a ton of commits. Ashton Stamps, actually, one of their commits out of Rummel, put out a picture of all of the commits with Coach Kelly before the game on the field, and Toviano and Chester were in that photo. So I think they're trying to work a little,
Get in the picture with us.
will it into
speak it into existence.
Yeah, speak it into existence. But so treating those guys like, hey, look, be a part of the fam, and those were the 2 big kids for this year. And then you look at next year, they had a ton of Louisiana kids in. They had Colin Simmons, who was #1 edge rusher in the country out of Duncanville, was in and spent a lot of time with the staff on the field before the game. So it's exactly what you wanted too, because a lot of those non-conference games just can get boring in a hurry. Like they came out and dropped 30-something points on them in the first 10 minutes of the game. So
I think it was the most points LSU's ever scored in an opening quarter.
100%. So I thought it was kind of the perfect recipe of like sold out game, a reason to stay engaged with the halftime show. You know, the first game of the Kelly era, you've got a lot of the commits there. It ends up being a game where everybody gets to play and you're still scoring points the whole time.
Everybody gets on the field.
Everybody literally got on the field.
Man, I should have walked with him.
Yeah.
Next time.
Could have been just me and him.
Yeah. What's the meme handshake? The black hand and the white hand shaking hands together. Just
stargazing, man.
LSU's more powerful than you think. Bringing people together.
Just bringing all the communities together.
That's unbelievable. But do you think that because of the way that the LSU Southern game, like kind of the way that it was propped up, and it was, I mean, it's a huge deal, obviously, for Louisiana.
No doubt.
Is that like, that's an easy selling point to recruit,
100%.
not only for LSU's like program, but for recruiting?
Yeah, no, and that gives out-of-state kids a chance to see what that whole element and environment's like. And when these kids go and they see other teams playing, some non-conference game that's not a marquee one, certainly one like this against an HBCU where it's you're expecting it to be a blowout. Like there won't even be a lot of fans at the game. Everyone leaves by halftime. Like this was packed out until the end. So I thought this was the perfect game, kind of to get a lot of guys in for, because I think that element of Southern versus LSU and all of Baton Rouge being a part of it kind of really put on display what a game day is like at LSU. And obviously on the field they handled business, and that's cool for the kids. That's what they want to see.
And you get like a sneaky pregame into what like an LSU actual like SEC
100%.
top 10 matchup that you hope LSU gets back to being a part of where
and you didn't have to spoil any official visitors on this weekend.
right,
It
they
wasn't
just
like
wanted to
you
be
had
part of the party.
to convince guys like, hey, we'll pay for it. You come in. Everyone came in on their own dime, and as you said, just wanted to be a part of it.
And I think that kind of moves into what we expect to see, maybe Mississippi State 5:00 kick. But LSU obviously drops the first game, 1-1. But you see, it feels like there's a little momentum turning up when you see the unofficial list again come out, the kind of the top names that are a part of the LSU recruiting class that wanted to see LSU almost again. They want to come back for another weekend, unofficially or officially, to come see, okay, we saw what LSU Southern vibes are immaculate. You come in, you want to see, all right, now let's see some football.
Right. The two big headliners, and we'll kind of jump around here. We'll go back to Toviano and these guys in a second. But this weekend, they have the number one corner in the country for next year coming in Desmond Ricks. Plays at IMG, but no relation to Eli, despite last name in the high school. But IMG's in Florida. If you're sort of a casual fan of recruiting, it's like the powerhouse type, prep school everybody goes to.
I mean, it took Bishop Sycamore out of the woodshed to made him quit high school.
Absolutely. I'm convinced Southern had played Bishop Sycamore in week 1 when they had won like 86-0.
That could have been, I think it's a similar program. I think that was like their first year back of playing organized football in like 5 years.
And their last. They didn't even play anymore this year.
My God. Yeah, Southern got a team on the schedule.
That's what Ro was telling us, because it was a Florida school.
Yeah.
He said it's Flomo. That's what he was explaining. It's
Rohan?
Florida Memorial.
Yeah, let's not look too much into that.
This was their first year of football ever, and like he was like, they're known for like their band or something. Like they're not known for football. And Southern scored 86 on them. So. And
Southern's known for their band, so you know how bad that was.
I don't know how Southern got to 86 after what I saw Saturday, because it's not a fair indictment or a fair way to really form an opinion on LSU football. It felt like, because first play of the game is fumble, take back for LSU. It's like, all right, there's no competition here, and so I guess if you're a recruit at that game, you kind of start seeing how they work in other players, how freshmen got to play. But when you fast forward to Mississippi State, I'm wondering what are their takeaways? What are they looking for?
Everyone just looks at their position and how's it going.
They watch it differently than we do.
100%. Like, let's talk about DJ Chester for a second. Oh, well, I was mentioning those kids for next year, Desmond Ricks and Ellis Robinson, the fourth, both play at IMG, and they sit as the number 1 and number 2 corners in the country for the 24 class on the On3 rankings. Both those guys will be here this weekend. So you're coming off a weekend with Toviano and them. You get a weekend where the number 1 and 2 corners for next year are coming in. So you're on a bit of a, flex your muscles about DBU kind of run here, just with getting kids on campus. It's exactly what you want to see. I think, like, when we catch up with all the recruits after the game, and we always have a piece on the site, you can check it every Sunday and everybody reacts to it. But every kid is just watching their position. Like DJ Chester, an offensive lineman who I put in a prediction on the On3 RPM.
Is this your first one?
No, I had put one in on. Oh, my first day was the first, so I put Zalance Heard that morning. He was just doing it that night.
Yeah, I'm back, boys.
This would be it's only my third day out here.
I thought you were about to say Tag Curtis.
Yeah, no. I have no clue what's going on there. That's an inside joke. If anyone listened. Yep. No, did he? For real. See, you got me again. Damn it.
About the Tackett game.
Still. That's a summer inside joke for any summer of Shea was
on and popping.
Had
Shea
no
forgot
clue
football existed.
What was going on.
A cover what now?
Yeah, DJ Chester I guess would have been my second, but I put one in for him. And when he talked about the game, it was like it's very specific. Like, yeah, you saw Brad Davis like rotate to a new O-line this week, but they still moved. Cam Wire got some reps in the game, and Shorts got to go in, and then we saw some Emory Jones. So like he's very much puts himself in the mindset of, if I'm in the room, here's where I'm going. Here's where I stack up. Here's how much these guys get to play right away, whatever it might be. And everybody sort of looks at it like that. So I think everybody watches it from a very much, first and foremost, my position,
point of view.
Specifically, how do I fit in? And then I'll move on to the team element of it. If I'm not on your team yet, I don't really care about I care more about just me until I'm on the team.
And that's what I think people don't realize so much is you've hammered this home a ton, where they don't necessarily care about the wins and losses as much as like fans do. They're not, if they come to like an official visit, unofficial visit, Mississippi State and LSU loses, that doesn't impact them as much as fans do, where they're like, "Oh, recruits were here and LSU lost." It's like, I saw some deficiencies, or maybe where I can fit.
Yeah,
in.
and there's always different elements of how a recruit would react. But one, to point out, I always talk about just how they lose games all the time. They're not really worried about that, but they also have that player's mentality. Like Florida State game, after the game, like even that next week in interviews with the team, you could sense some of it in them that they were like, well, if we would have played like that in the fourth quarter, all 4 quarters,
LSU
we would have beat
won.
them.
Yeah,
So the recruits take that same mindset of like, on a Friday night when they lose by 1, they're not like down on themselves, right? Man, we really won that game. If it weren't for the refs or if it weren't for
extra point,
Jimmy, Neutron over there fumbling the football and blew it for us.
Chemistry with this kid.
Yes, they're thinking, well, I'm counting that as a win. We didn't really lose. So when you lose a game like that by 1 point, especially when you come back and you get an extra point blocked, and recruits who are actually paying attention are like, okay,
and
on to the next one.
It's more about the experience, right?
100%.
And have you? I don't know. I'm going.
And just the trajectory of the program, right? Like they're building, and that's one thing. Brian Kelly and this staff done a great job of selling these guys on. You're going to be a part of rebuilding this, so there is no expectation right now that they're watching this year like, man, LSU struggling.
They're supposed to be a 10-win team.
I mean, you saw after the Florida State game in our recruiting reaction thing where a lot of kids weighed in and they're like, yeah, I already knew they might lose because the coaches told us. Like, the coaches told us this was going to be a year where we're trying to rebuild. We're repatching with the portal. We're not going to, this ain't going to be the LSU that you're going to be a part of when you get here. So I think that's kind of how they view it.
Yeah, this is the shift in. I mean, it's a gigantic not only cultural shift, but just shift in the program because, like you said, so much patchwork done through the portal, which leaves so much space for recruiting the next couple of years. I'd imagine that's where they see the light at the end of the tunnel. Like, okay, in 3 years, Brian Kelly, who's won everywhere he's ever gone, wants me to be a part of something that, okay, we'll be looking college football playoff in a couple of years, not Alamo Bowl.
100%. And another thing that helps that they've built on is the momentum of the class. When you look around and Shelton Sampson, well, if it's good enough for Shelton and it's good enough for Jalen and it's good enough for Tyree and Zalance and Ricky and then it's good enough for me. I'm in. Like it. Once you actually have 20-something commits and recruits can look and see, all right, I'm not taking a risk here. I'm actually coming in with a class that's top 10 that's very good. It takes some of that worry of, oh, man, what is the roster going to look like in the future? But
right, you don't have to do the total sell of, oh, don't go to a powerhouse school here. Like, come help build something.
Yeah,
come be one of one. And it's like, no. Once you get some of those big, like those horses in the stable, it's like, okay, I want to be a part of like whatever race they're running.
Exactly. So Chester, I feel good about. He's not going to announce until January at the All-American Bowl. He's going to take other visits, so we'll discuss him plenty in the future. But they have a really good O-line class right now with Mabenga out of Georgia, Chester's out of Georgia. So if they got him at any point, it would be 2 Georgia kids and 2 Louisiana kids and Adams and Hurd, who are obviously top 10 tackles. Mabenga's an interior guy. Chester's an interior guy. We'll see them recruit others, but I would keep Chester at kind of the top of the O-line discussion. And then Toviano is one where the on 3 RPM, the recruiting prediction machine, because of visits he's made to LSU, just because of interest he's shown, picks that have been made, are now have a pretty sizable lead over Texas A&M, Michigan. And I so often preach, and Toviano, if you look him up, he's ranked as the number 5 safety in the country. LSU's recruiting me at corner, and Robert Steeples is kind of in charge of things there. So envision him as kind of that elite type corner that you could have. Now, they have some corners already in this class. They have some good ones, but they need to really beef up the corner room. They need to beef up the safety room. They're well on their way to that. And now they can kind of hone in on guys like Toviano who can kind of really put a bow on a cornerback class, if you will. But he's one who's really tough to track. And I say that in the sense of, and this is kind of one of my lines I always use, like, watch what kids do rather than listen to what they say. And Toviano's the type, and it might not always be, I'm trying to fool you, or a lot of the times it's I'm keeping it close to the vest, or I think it's a lot of times is I'm just kind of, I've got a lot of teams after me, and I'll decide where I want to visit when I decide, but it'll be like, and Colin Simmons is kind of similar. Billy Embody talked about this on our podcast. Like, they'll say on Monday, I'm going to the LSU game. Then on Wednesday, they'll say I'm going to the A&M game. And then by Friday, it's like they have no clue where they're going. You know, like wherever they show up is where they're going to be. But
it's got to be hell in like the recruiting office.
Oh God!
For those, like, you have to prepare passes, do all this. It was like,
are you on the way yet?
Yeah.
Are you in the car? Are you driving to Baton Rouge?
I can hear you.
Yes.
I hear calling Baton Rouge. All right.
Put me on FaceTime. Let me see what you're doing.
It's like being a parent.
Yes, 100%.
I guess.
I don't believe you. Put me on FaceTime.
Yeah, no.
So,
Show me.
Toviano in his brand new Joe Burrow jersey down there on the sideline, swagging.
Good look.
A good look, clean, in the white LSU Joe Burrow jersey. BURROW, I believe.
Oh, yeah. The standard.
Classic.
The standard.
Classic.
You can't be rocking the EA.
The other one's fleeting.
Yeah, that's just, one off.
He made that trip and very much was invited to be like at A&M App State. Well, that's another, like that wasn't supposed to be any marquee type of game. He was invited to Texas Bama in Austin. Texas is recruiting him heavily. So to skip that game, which had game day there, which was an awesome game, which was, their marquee kind of home game of the year, certainly, to go to LSU Southern shows that you've got some real interest in LSU. So if we're watching what they do and not really worrying about all the time of kind of what is he saying? Is he saying it's wide open? Is he saying, I don't have any leaders? Well, it's sort of telling when you show up to LSU Southern, the home opener, Kelly's first game, and you pass up all these other things you're invited to. So that's good news for LSU. There's been buzz that he might push up his commitment. Then there's been him saying probably not, but we'll be out there. Billy, Sam, Spiegelman, one of them, I know will be out at his game on Friday. So
one of you on 3.
Check it when next week we'll see what.
Do you think he'll?
Say.
Do you have any idea if he'll want to be an early enrollee? Or
I don't know. I got to look up. I need to check on that. I don't have that kind of off the top of my head.
Because that's what I wanted to ask you about. Who's the offensive lineman? DJ Chester. As if he wants to wait to commit until February, right? If he's going to do it at National Signing Day.
Right, then you wouldn't be an early enrollee,
right,
obviously.
And you see how much that's affected Emory Jones already to where they want to play. LSU wants to play Emory Jones.
Well, how much it helped Will Campbell.
Right.
He got a 6-month head start.
And so that's what I'm wondering, if these guys if they see the writing on the wall where it's like, oh man, if I would have been here earlier, and I know the rule with Catholic.
Yeah, like Emory Jones, the
he
Catholic High does
enroll.
not have early, and they don't graduate kids early. And there are schools like that. Like the goal most of the time, a college would like every kid to be an early enrollee, but
right.
There's a lot of times where a school might not allow it. The kid's simply not on track yet to be like, oh yeah, I could graduate in December if I take 30 hours in the fall. No, that's not happening.
No,
so
take 12 and
you've kind of got to have it set up a year ahead of time that, hey, I'm trying to, graduate in December. So that's why it's usually about 7-8 guys. Right. Instead of all 25 of them.
Yeah, because I was just kind of reading the tea leaves with Emory Jones' situation. I was like, God, because you see how badly they see his potential. And if you'd have been able to get him in early, I think he'd be one of the 5 that's starting. Moving on down the list. Oh, I got one more for you before we move off of the people that are visiting this week. Desmond Ricks, Ellis Robinson IV. Are they a package deal, would you say? Or
I don't think so,
Okay,
no.
They're just traveling together?
Yeah, they're just traveling together. Play at the same high school. Both being recruited by LSU, so you come over together. As I noted, they're both at IMG, and we're talking about the number 1 and 2 corners in the country. Ricks has sort of been a mainstay of the discussion in terms of LSU. He's already visited a few times, actually, with this new staff. He visited in March, I think back in the spring, and now this game. Maybe that was Toviano, actually. Maybe I'm confusing him. But he's visited before. But he's a kid. Ricks is from Virginia. I think he's a Chesapeake Bay area guy originally. And Robinson's from Connecticut. So kids that are not from the South but are now down at IMG. So now they've got a little bit more access to be able to go see schools like LSU. But Ricks, people would probably say Bama, LSU, Florida, North Carolina. And Robinson's one LSU's kind of trying to get into the mix for. But again, Bama's probably considered one of the teams to beat. Georgia's heavy there. Miami. We'll kind of have to keep an eye on it. But as I say, with 2024 guys, all you want right now is just getting them on campus.
Absolutely.
It is so far away. Even if they were committed somewhere right now, you'd still be committed. You'd still be recruiting them. When you're a year and a half out from signing day, the goal is just get a relationship and get them to campus.
Get the phone number.
Get them to campus as much as possible. So
it's a long time.
They're doing that. Ricks and Robinson will be here this weekend. Yeah, so that'll be a big one.
And bouncing right back to, hold on, I had one more for you on who we were already talking about. Taviano, when you say that he wants to play, or that he's currently playing safety, is there a conversation, I think Robert Steeples is the main coordinator, or main recruiting coordinator on him. Is he selling him, you can get some looks at safety, Or is he like, look, when you come to LSU, I want you to play corner?
Yeah, when you come to LSU, I want you to play corner.
So there's no like bill of goods where it's like, hey, well, we can try that if you
I mean,
want.
there's kids, Toviano would be one of them, that are a lot like a Jay Ward, where it's like, Jay Ward started at nickel. Like Jay Ward has started at nickel, corner, safety. Like there's some versatility to some understood. If you've got that versatility, it's sort of understood that like, hey man, we may be able to cross train you and you'll play. I just don't know where it is. But very much the starting conversation is we are recruiting you to play. Like we want you to play corner here.
I think we kind of got that from Kerry Cooks. Was it Kerry Cooks that came in?
Yes,
they both came in.
They
Steeples
both came
and
in,
Kerry Cooks came in, but I think Kerry Cooks kind of hit on that, like about the DBs that they recruit being versatile and being able to play corner, safety, or nickel. Because he was talking about Jay Ward, and he said like Jay Ward is versatile enough to where we can play him at safety, we can play him at strong safety, we can play him at nickel, we can play him at outside corner. So for him, for Taviano, like if he can play all those positions, that's better for him.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just one of those situations, exactly like Stewie's saying, where you tell him corner, but the reality is if he's good enough, he's going to be on the field and help you somewhere.
And that's LSU needs help and they need depth, especially on defensive end, especially in corner, because like we've said before, we've hammered this home. A lot of these guys are from the portal.
Yeah, and they're like fifth-year guys.
Right, so you're going to have to start fresh. There's going to be so much playing time available on that defensive side while LSU tries to get this thing right. But speaking of playing time and maybe little, I guess what you saw at Texas A&M and Marshall, and with that whole scenario of midnight yell. But as I was looking on On3 today, there was a flip meter on Jalen Brown, and I believe he is visiting A&M this weekend.
Yeah, and people were asking what qualifies as like being on Flip Watch, and I think for like the graphic that you're probably referencing, there was like 6 or 7 kids on it.
Yeah, they're just marquee
you've got to
guys.
be highly ranked, and you've got to be talking about taking other visits while committed to a school. So like that puts you on, I guess, the most fundamental level of Flip Watch. Like you're committed somewhere, but you're taking other visits, and a lot of that happens, but when you're highly ranked, it becomes a little bit more under the microscope. Like nobody cares if I'm taking other visits, but if Jalen Brown, for instance, who we're talking about, is going to visit A&M, an LSU commit, a top 100 player, then it's noteworthy. But Brown's dad told us, Billy and Buddy had caught up with him, that
he wanted to see yell practice.
Yeah, it's just a visit. We're going to go check it out. They'd already been recruiting us. We're locked in. We're firm to LSU. And one thing to remember with Jalen Brown is his mom lives in Mississippi. And a big reason he wanted to commit to LSU because it made it easy for his mom to be able to come to Baton Rouge and see him play a lot and be near him when he's in college. So I think that element is one you need to remember, like when he's going to visit A&M. Well, that's a lot further away than his mom is. So his dad being in Miami, he can hop on a flight to New Orleans and drive over to Baton Rouge, or you can go to Atlanta, Baton Rouge, whatever you want to do. You can get there. His mom can drive over from Mississippi. That's easy. And I think he obviously he wants to play at LSU. He's got that comfort level with the staff. He likes the direction and kind of the pitch they're selling and how they want to use him. And remember, this is free advertising at the next level right now that Odell, or excuse me, I'm still stuck. I'm old. I'm out here with Jarvis and Odell. That Justin and Jamar are the 2 best players out there in the NFL right now at receiver. It's like next level. Jefferson's smashing every record.
Brand, yes.
Chase is coming right behind him, smashing all the records. These kids, most recently, when they think of LSU receivers, they think of those guys. So I think they kind of say like, yeah,
God,
that's wide receiver you. That's who I'm trying to be a part of.
Because for so long we sold the Jarvis Landry Odell picture
100%.
Like that bill of goods, and now it's a testament to LSU.
Don't sleep on my boy Jarvis, though. Went off this weekend.
Were you shocked he was in 5? I knew that he was changing, but I thought he was just going to rock with 80 the entire time. And then after CJ, GJ leaves, Ingram goes 22 from 5, Jarvis goes from 80 to 5, but I just thought he would stick with 80. I don't know why he changed his number. He looked good in it, but it just shocked me.
Caught him off guard.
Well, I didn't know is there any connection to 5 from like high school or anything?
I'm sure the Picky or somebody wrote about that.
I'm sure there's a connection there. Speaking of...
We've done no research
for
this show.
Well, no, I was about to say, we have the chat, which hits us with our first Ask Shea.
All right, let's get in the chat.
Which is something that's been floating around. We haven't really talked about a lot, but why, this is very fan-driven, why is LSU commits as soon as they commit to LSU losing their 5th star and dropping to a 4-star?
Okay, so that is not the case. So let's look, for instance, at Shelton Sampson, right? Let's pull it up. Stewie, You want to pull up his on 3 thing? Is that something you can put on the screen, or we can just look at it?
You can pull it from the screen.
I can pull it from your screen.
And that's what I'm about to do.
All right, pull up Shelton Sampson on 3.
Yes, Dad.
Let me know when you get it.
The Lance Hurd did lose his 5th star.
No. I don't believe so.
I'm looking at it right here. Oh, okay. All right. On 3 consensus is a 4-star.
There's where we're going to get to.
Okay.
There's like a consensus and a regular.
All right. Yeah. Okay. Click industry comparison right there on the rankings thing. And everyone at home, when you go to the on 3 pages, you can click this industry. Okay. So now you can see everywhere where all the major services. So you've got on 3 there, you've got 24/7, you've got Rivals, you've got ESPN, and you can see where they rank Shelton Sampson. LSU's commit out of Baton Rouge. Okay. Let's go back there.
Sorry, I'm in full screen. I'm never in full screen.
Okay. So you'll see that that on 3 has him ranked as a 5-star, number 21 overall player, number 4 receiver, higher on him than anyone. But then when all of those are averaged out together, you get that on 3 consensus on the left, which would be a 4-star, number 34 overall, top 5 receiver. All of that's very, very good. I think people's, like, for instance, in this, if you pulled up Zalon's Herds, it would read exactly the same. LSU on 3 ranks him as a 5-star. Everybody else has him as a 4-star. And the on 3 consensus sort of reflects that. The thing with, I think that one of them, Rivals, maybe had dropped Sampson a little bit. And then, and it was kind of right around his commitment. So when everyone went to check his page, it was like, wait, I'm not seeing him as a 5-star anymore. Now it shows 4-star. But the reality is his ranking on 3 has not changed. We haven't updated anything there until probably about a month into the season. And obviously we're just a couple weeks into high school ball now.
So this is a lot like throwing it back a little bit to when Go 247 had their ratings, and then they had like the composite ratings. Same thing?
Mm-hmm.
And so
a little bit different of a formula.
Is this just it's combining all of the industry rankings? It's taking on 3, it's taking Rivals, and it's spitting this number out, and that.
Yeah, and it's not just a straight average. There's stuff that goes into it.
People pick and choose which ones they want to use, right? Like LSU's going to say, "Oh, Lance Hurd's a 5-star. I saw it on 3."
100%. Why not?
Yeah, exactly.
You got 4 options.
Absolutely,
choose the best one.
The best one. ESPN is the worst one of the bunch, right?
I just don't think they have the resources anymore to be pouring into it. But
I mean, I think they have the resources. I don't think they have anybody that wants to do it.
Sure.
Who cares about high school recruiting?
Yeah, just get me in the NFL.
But yeah, that's so.
It's LeBron playing football.
When you're curious about rankings or whatever, go to the kids' profile page, like on 3, and then click that industry comparison, and then you can just see where everybody's got them ranked. You don't have to Google 4 times. You don't have to do any of that.
You don't have to create 4 posts on 3 forums or on Tiger Droppings where you're like, why are they dropping? Why are they dropping?
So
happy they're in the boat. Doesn't matter if they're 4-star, 3-star, 5-star. Take them because
here's
thought they were
the on 3 consensus equally weighs the 4 companies at 25%. Yeah, and it says, well, I think that, for instance, we were at 24/7 before, and the people at On 3 who created this database did the one at 24/7, and then 24/7's rankings sort of held a little bit more value than the others, which I can understand, right? Like you want to put your rankings to have the most value, but the On 3 consensus, which you'll look at, is just a straight up, here's what all 4 think.
Combined, spit out the number.
Fair way to look at it.
There we go. All right, yeah, absolutely.
So Zalon's Herd still a 5-star.
On 3.
Shelton's still 5-star.
Yeah, for on 3.
Nothing's changed.
Yeah, nothing's changed. So LSU still pulling.
I can't speak on anybody else, but On 3 has them.
Yeah, do you work for them or something?
Due to the gear they just sent me, it came with a note that said,
"Hey, you remember you work here? Yeah,
just remember you work here and just talk."
You're gonna
about
have
that.
to. Yeah, they're on your second day with all of your gear.
We're gonna need you to no comment everything
talk
else.
about every other recruiting service that's out there and the other ones you worked for.
So that's kind of the gist there. Go to their profile page, look at their consensus ranking, look at the on-through ranking, and if you want more, click on that industry comparison. Then you kind of get the whole feel for it.
If you want to call them a 5-star, there's your reason.
Before you hit submit on that post, go to the industry comparison, just see what's going on.
Take a step back.
And breathe.
Why isn't Shelton Sampson a 5-star?
Yeah, hell, I just saw he was a 5-star. Then Culotta put his commitment on TV, and now he's 4-star. Didn't even see the video. I don't know what happened.
You're blending up both our worlds there. Yeah, I like that. Hey, all the hate we could get.
Oh, absolutely. You star of the show.
You should see Tiger Droppings.
Oh, yeah. Started whole threads.
What else popping in the chat?
All right, this is from LGZ Shea. Is there any info regarding LSU pushing hard to flip Jaden Wayne?
I haven't heard that name in a minute. I guess I could dig around there, but they have a pretty big class right now in terms of D linemen, and they're still after a couple. I haven't heard Wayne's name a ton. I think he was heavy, like it was a heavy NIL play from what I heard from people. And he's committed to Miami right now, despite being from Washington. But he's a really good player. He could have gone anywhere he wanted. Unless that narrative changed, I'd be a bit surprised if LSU was back on him with any sort of real expectation. What else we got popping?
Let's go. Let's go to the next one. Okay, Hunter Fournette, our guy that's a big Culotta Show supporter.
My man.
Shout out. Thank you for sticking around with us for the recruiting power hour-ish. Is BR to BR over? Hashtag. The big, I don't know. I don't keep up with all the hashtags.
Bravion Rogers? Is that
Okay.
That's not, dude, I didn't even know who he was talking about. I don't do the hashtags
He was
on
the
Twitter.
kid that committed to A&M,
Yeah.
decommitted, and then committed back to A&M.
And then he was there this weekend, right? For
your
I think
practice?
yeah.
Well, I
and,
know he was there in week 1,
State.
which is the same Houston game, and then he recommitted after that game. If I'm an LSU fan, I'm putting pause on that. I think LSU is probably realizing let's continue to recruit him, but I think LSU played a big role in him opening things back up. But to then turn around and commit to A&M like right away, right after you visited again, and you're a Texas kid, it's sort of like if that were a Louisiana kid and he decommitted and LSU got him right back like a week later, and then other schools are still out there like, man, we're still going to get him. I'd be like, bro, this dude literally just decommitted and committed right back to LSU again. Like,
yeah, it's like a dog leaves the house and comes right back. Like,
Yeah.
I don't actually want to go out
Right.
there.
Yeah,
I'm
it's a
cool.
little scary
I'm
out
happy at
there.
home. Yeah. All right.
so yeah, for now, we're pressing pause on the BR to BR hashtag.
All right.
It is not trending at the moment.
not trending. All right.
No Elf Bar pasta.
No, just no smoke. No smoke. Shane LeBlanc asked Shea, any good players coming out of the Acadiana area that LSU is trying to get? Went very broad.
Oh, what is the Acadiana area is pretty big.
Yeah, well, I guess he's talking about like Lafayette.
Stewie, that's your neck of the woods,
Yeah,
huh?
Lafayette, New Iberia, and those areas. St. Martinville.
Is Alexandria in there? Or did we just miss the cut?
Nah, yeah, y'all a little far.
Oh, Rapides
Like
Parish
Opelousas,
just misses
Karen
the
Crowe,
cut. Damn it.
That area.
One kid I do like out of that area is Juwan Johnson, who he plays quarterback at LCA, which LCA's got a ton of all the best players usually. But he plays quarterback, but he is being recruited as a college corner. And LSU had him at camp. He was really good at camp. He earned an offer. I'd seen him play last year already, and I mean he's a really good athlete for them at the quarterback spot. So yeah, I like him. I like him a good bit. LSU's offered, Bama's offered, A&M's offered, Georgia, you name it. So he's already a 4-star. He'll be a top 5. I think he's already on 3 consensus right now. Has him as a top 5 player in the state. So that would be a big kid out of Lafayette. I guess if I go to some surrounding places, New Iberia. Well, Westgate has Derek Williams for this year.
You keep mentioning him, and you say it's not over. It's not over.
Well,
it's
I'm not.
Over.
Do I sound like that?
You try.
Everybody
It
sounds
makes
like
me
that.
want to say it to other people and be like, "Oh, don't shut the door on Derek Williams."
And don't repeat my name there.
Yeah,
Okay.
you say it on the show. The people watch
well,
you
then
say
I'm gonna
it.
Quit talking about him.
But because you get my hopes up that
Well, he's committed to Texas.
he is committed to Texas.
I'm just saying that LSU never stopped recruiting him.
And how has that?
We'll see if he shows up. If he starts showing up on campus for games, like he's already said, he's got official visits left and he wants to take them, and LSU will be one. So right there, that dialogue is still happening, that the interest is there, at least on some sort of surface level or above. So
Door's not shut.
Door's not shut. Door's not completely shut, slammed shut, bolted, all that.
Okay, continue on your Acadiana tear.
So for next year at Westgate, I'm not skipping over Derek Williams. I'm just trying to think of kids from the Acadiana area. But Demarion Johnson is a very good player out of Westgate. I don't know what he's ranked. He's ranked as a 4-star, but
Depending on the service.
I think it's like a top 20 type player as a D lineman. He'll be an interior guy or a DN, D line, not really a stand up edge rusher, but he's got a bunch of big offers, including LSU. So I think next year is a year where they get back into the Acadiana as a good bit.
Yeah, because I think we talked about this a little bit just throughout the year. Is the reason that they've gone so national is because they brought in coaches that were recruiting nationally. Once you bring them into Louisiana, let them get their feet underneath them, they're going to start recruiting this area a little bit harder because this is where their feet are. instead of them having to go to different schools. Like in Oklahoma, has
you
to
know,
recruit
Big Frank
nationally.
ain't gonna let
Yeah,
anybody.
exactly. Put the duster on and see
Yeah.
if you see who comes a knocking.
My man,
Omar's coming.
Frank will just get in the car and go recruit them. They'll be fine. Louisiana recruiting and evaluating all that. The personnel side, these guys sit around watching film all day, whether it's out of state, in state, it doesn't matter. So the evals are there. We've already seen Louisiana stuff pick up a good bit for next year. They've hosted a bunch of these kids. So, yeah, they're...
Did they just watch like Huddle?
No, they get game film.
That's what I would. That's
Huddle's
what I would
highlights, homie.
Right.
Ain't nobody getting fooled off some highlights.
Yeah, exactly.
Huddle has the full game. If
Does
you get
it?
it from the coach?
Because I was just wondering how much production goes into this for high school. Because I feel like there's not a lot.
Like, I mean, we would get the full game from our coach, and you
Yeah.
have to highlight the plays.
The days of trading VHS tapes
That's what I'm thinking of.
are over.
They just send an MP4 to the coach, and you have the all 22.
I think, like at a high school level? Or
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. At high school,
high schools, they just share it and...
Yeah, no, I don't know. People,
I'll share my game film with you.
Like,
you share it with me.
Yeah, I feel like
If
a
you
lot of
don't,
those
you
are just
don't.
like grainy, like bumping the entire time. You're like, I don't know if I could really see anything from this.
Most schools now have it down. Like, they have, like, good angles from both sides.
You're
They
not
got
seeing the
back
parents
view.
stand up and walk
Yeah,
across
no.
and just hear like blatant cheering.
Like, no.
All right, that's how it was in my
It's like
day.
bootleg movie
Exactly,
theater
yeah,
where
I'm trying to watch the Minions.
10 minutes in, someone stands up in
Exactly.
front of you. Like,
Just
this is
back of
in the
that.
theater.
Yeah.
We're in the theater.
And that's when you realize, like, how fucking dumb am I to be like, I was watching this movie like it was real. And it's like, oh, this guy filmed it on his
Yes.
phone. Like, I need to go to bed.
Right.
It's enough for me tonight. Staying in the LSU area, Louisiana area, Caleb Jackson, sidelined, broken foot, ankle.
He had some sort of fracture in his foot. So I think they said Sam Spiegelman caught up with him and wrote a story. And he had said 6 to 8 weeks. That was probably last week or the week prior. But it sounded like November is when they'll reevaluate and see if he can come back and play kind of the final few games of his senior year. But he's here in town at Liberty Magnet. Top 15 running back in the country. Trey Holly's their other commitment at running back.
He
top
went
15
crazy.
And he'll break the state rushing record. Kenny Hilliard holds it right now from his days at Patterson. But Trey Holly, just from playing every year since he got onto the team, back freshman year to now, and getting 100 and something carries a year and putting up pretty big. I mean, he's rushing for 100 and something yards a game. So eventually you're going to stack up a lot of yards. And
Didn't he play like his 7th grade year?
Yeah, I think
it was like
8th grade.
yeah, I think it was 8th grade to now.
The Nick Brissett train?
And Kenny Hilliard had played early. Like, even to get those type of numbers, you've got to be
Squeeze in an extra year
you
somewhere.
you had to redshirt at some point. Yeah, there's
Redshirt still got carries.
Yeah, played in only 4 games and
He's
came
a
back.
redshirt 8th grader.
Rushed
Gotta
for
keep
904 games, but kept my red shirt.
Yeah, he get 8 carries for 220 and 3 touchdowns. Like,
Yeah.
all right, he can't play anymore.
So yeah, LSU will. The state record holder will still be an LSU running back, whether it's Kenny Hilliard or Trey Holly. But it looks like it'll be Trey Holly.
And do you think LSU's done on the recruiting front for running backs?
I mean, I think high school wise, it'd be fine if they were, right? Because you've got 2 guys. They're both from Louisiana. That's big, obviously, for Frank's room. Wilson, the whole time he was here, it was mostly Louisiana guys beyond God, maybe like a Spencer Ware. I'd have to really think about it.
Well, last year you had Corey Kiner.
Yeah, but he
wasn't
wasn't.
Frank
But
Wilson.
Frank wasn't there.
Oh, no Frank Wilson.
In
I was just
the
thinking out of
Frank
state.
days, so he's gone, identified in Louisiana, gotten running backs from Louisiana, and those 2 would be, I think, be enough. And if you've got to, like, if this is Emory's last year type of thing, and then you've got Noah Kane and Goodwin, and you've got a full year to evaluate them, and you're bringing these kids in, who it's like, okay, are they going to play right away? They may need some time to develop. Like maybe a portal running back again, but I think you just think about that after the season when you see exactly who you've got coming back, where things stand, all that.
All right.
Shifting over to the other side of the ball. Staying in Louisiana, though. Jonathan Becks.
I love him. Love him.
Yeah, where does LSU stand with him?
They're
'Cause
af-
I know he was in town this week.
Yeah, they're recruiting him. So he's committed to TCU, this kid out of Edna Carr, linebacker. And beyond Whit Weeks, West Weeks' little brother, Whit's a very good player, 4-star. In Georgia, they don't have a linebacker committed. And that's one spot where they actually do need to be beefing things up. So I like the idea of an offer to Backs. They've not offered him, but college coaches, and let's say LSU here specifically, they wait until about 4 games into a senior year, and then they'll say, okay, we've got all the game film of everyone that we like at linebacker that we haven't offered. Let's watch their first 4 games. Let's decide who we're going to offer. And if you're offering an in-state kid and is at Edna Carr, like you can't offer and then be like, well, but we're not ready for you to commit or what, like that's different than just kind of a offer to a kid that's out in Iowa or something where you're like, yeah, we can offer him even if we're not completely sure. We can figure it out later.
He's from Iowa.
You kind of got to get it right with a Jonathan Bax type player. So he'll have a thorough eval, but again, committed to TCU right now. He's put up some big numbers right out of the gates for Edna Carr. They've been blowing people out, so it's
shocker.
Well, they did week 1, so I think he only played like a quarter and a half. But as they get about a month in, then they can kind of put the film together and really get a feel for where these guys are at. And it would not surprise me if he was one that got an offer. But he'll definitely be on the radar no matter what, kind of moving forward because they need linebackers.
Yeah, we need linebackers. That's what somebody just said in the chat. Marcus Freeman. Oh, shocker. I don't know if we've talked about these two guys yet. This is just coming from Orgy Culotta in the chat. Wardell Mack and Jalen Crawford.
Wardell Mack is next year. That's Stewie's boy, right?
Yeah.
What's your early take there?
My early take, I just think he's a player. He's one of those kids you got to have, kind of thing. To me, the third-ranked player in Louisiana. The other two kids have LSU predictions also, Tredez Green and Tylen Singleton from Manny, which is a safety. He's a linebacker. But you need DBs. And if you want to get DBs and you want to get kids from Louisiana,
he falls into that category.
And it doesn't hurt when this is a kid at John Ehret for next year. Early on when you've got LSU, Bama.
Already on the list.
Florida State, Texas. Everyone's already offered.
Whatever happened to Kane Williams from?
He went to Bama, didn't he?
Yeah, but he transferred from Bama.
I don't know where he ended up. Gosh, that was a name I haven't heard since then.
5 stars.
Nebraska.
Building a powerhouse over there.
Mickey Joseph. Mickey will scoop up all the Louisiana kids you got and not think twice about it.
He'll take your leftovers in a heartbeat.
Not worried about it.
Oh.
He will take it.
And I have another.
Coach. That's head coach, sir.
Head coach, Mickey Joseph.
Think about
interim.
Beast.
Bring the staff back together.
Mickey.
Coach O is going to be the defensive line coach there.
No, he's not.
Mickey's going to be the head coach.
Oh, God.
They're going to build a powerhouse, dude. Yeah. The Louisiana North.
Big Mickey Joseph fan.
Are you seeing this guy in the chat? Should we cash app him?
No, I'm not in the chat. That's why I'm asking you what's happening in the chat.
Brendan Ortiz says, I'm struggling. I need help. Cash app me. I'm not going to put his phone number out there. But he said he used his neighbor's Wi-Fi. We could do a little crowdfund for this, man, if we need to. Obviously, your, immediate take. You can't get had on Cash App, can you? Like, could he take my credit card information?
He definitely can. What about
I've never had that happen to me before.
He feels like the hook is in. Yeah. He's about to reel in Lloyd.
Little does he know, I don't care about anybody or anything. I don't really feel sorry for him just quite yet. But maybe if you could prove it, we could crowdfund here.
What else we got? I got a lunch date with my mom.
I know. I have
what else
something
we
to go
got
at
here?
12. I want to get out of here with this one. I'm gonna ask you every week.
Wait, who is the other one other than Wardell Mack? I don't want to skip that person.
Wallace Foster.
Yeah, he's another DB out of New Orleans for next year, but he's at Easton. But has an early LSU offer. Again, Texas has offered, Florida State. A lot of schools are kind of in on these New Orleans kids early. But Wallace Foster is one I'd keep an eye on. And Wardell Mack. I think those are the type of guys that you can start to, if you want to put the pressure on them and get them in, you can do it. And that can kind of start to be the foundation for next year when you want to start kind of getting some of these Louisiana kids in the boat. You've identified those two early. You've already offered them. I wouldn't be surprised if they were in a full-on press to say, hey, man, if y'all want in, get in.
And the other name we listed was Jalen Crawford. Did you hit on him at all?
I don't think we did.
You don't have to if you don't want to.
Well, I'm about to have to see what the biz is here.
I'm going to see if I can. I know, Charlie, that's my next question. I'm going to bring up Nicholas Harbor. That was going to be the next one, but Jalen Crawford did get answered. I want to know about Harbor as well because I think he's a freak show, and I just want to see him on campus.
Crawford for next year is a kid out of Georgia. I guess people are asking because on the recruiting prediction machine on 3, LSU's heavily favored. Top 20 corner on the on 3 consensus. He's already talked about kind of unofficial visits he wanted to make. LSU is what game he wanted to get to. I think it's, let's see. Major League, yep.
Oh, I love the facial hair.
Oklahoma is in there, Ohio State, Michigan State. But, gosh, I can remember in the spring he probably visited 3 or 4 times. So, I mean, to have him around that often is a good sign. And look, that's another corner. So we just went back to back to back on corners for next year, and we're talking about him bringing in the number 1 and 2 corners this weekend. So that should be a position early on that they seem to have some momentum going at.
Absolutely. Because it needs to get back to that kind of that DBU status, because it feels like it's up in the air a little bit. Just because after you lose somebody like Corey Raymond, and this is no shot at Steeples and the rest of the defensive back group and all, the safeties coach, it just feels like you kind of, that if there was ever going to be a moment where LSU lost momentum on the defensive back room, it would have been this year in terms of getting like, all right, let me
like you lost Corey Raymond.
Yeah, where you could go pluck anybody from anywhere in the country because LSU was so cemented with Corey Raymond and DBU, and it's like that's where they churn out pros. It's almost flipped to the other side of the ball at wide receiver.
Yeah. No, I could understand that line of thinking. And I'll point out, too, they have Zion Ferguson out of Georgia already committed at corner for next year. So should be a really good corner class next year. We'll just have to kind of start to monitor how they piece it together.
How about Eli Ricks, first team all special teams at Bama now?
Did he even play special teams?
I think he does play special teams. He might be like the gunner on punt.
What a story for him.
That's a roll.
That 5-star roll.
Terrible day for him Saturday.
He'll play this year.
He has to.
He might.
He'll play.
Does he still get drafted if he doesn't play?
We should be focused on Desmond Ricks right now, boys.
That's right.
Yeah.
For next year, number 1.
Moving
on from
out
Eli
with the
days.
old and with the new. Last one, Harbor. Any news on his front? Because everybody's enamored with this game.
Yeah, he hadn't locked in for sure when the official visit was. Like, he wanted to come for Tennessee, but he has a game that day, so that'd be very tough to do, and they'd actually like him to be there when he could spend some more time. I think he must have had, like, a game moved from, like, on the schedule to Saturday or whatever. It was something like that. So he was looking to see when he was going to reschedule it. But 100% he will. I feel very good that he will visit LSU officially before he makes an announcement.
Has he officialed anywhere yet? Did he go to South Carolina?
No, was it this summer? Did he go to Michigan, or has that not happened yet? I'm not sure if that just hasn't happened yet. Let's see.
I just didn't know if he went to, because I know South Carolina's on the list and I know Michigan's on the list. So I'd imagine that he's in that D.C. area. So I don't know how many times he's going, how many trips he's trying to make.
None yet. This weekend would be the first to South Carolina. Then if he sticks with it, next week would be to Michigan. Then he still has that October 7th one to LSU on there, but as I said, it's up in the air. Maybe even his visit schedule becomes up in the air a little bit. So I don't know. I'll you know what? I'll figure out some stuff there, and next week I'll come with an update.
Yeah, because people are interested. Oh, he's going to South Carolina, Charlotte. You talk about people wanting to go to the LSU Southern game. This just might be an easy trip for him, and he wants to go see South Carolina coming off a loss against Arkansas.
Yeah, he's still going to South Carolina this weekend. So next week when we come back, I'll give a recap on how that went. We'll see if he's locked in on the Michigan visit and see if he's kind of said anything yet.
Oh, no, they're playing Georgia.
That's
why he's going. Georgia, South Carolina, at South Carolina. That'd be a great game to go to.
There you go.
All right. Georgia, get paws off. Don't get any ideas. And keep this a 3-team race.
Yes,
LSU
right.
and Michigan.
Kirby's going to see him in the recruiting section and say,
who is that?
Come over here.
Yeah, that's what we don't need. We don't need you walking across the other sideline. All right. We'll wrap this thing up. Shea has a lunch date with his mom.
Shout out.
Is that what it is?
It is.
Well, I think you said shut up. Yeah.
Shout out.
Where y'all going?
I don't know.
Superior?
No, I don't think so.
You got to keep that to once a week?
Yeah, it's more of a nighttime thing.
Yeah. Unless you're just an animal.
Just not me.
They shouldn't even serve those things in the middle of the day.
It's illegal.
It changed somebody's life. Look, our old boy.
End up on the field.
End up on the field.
End up on the field.
All right, we'll do this thing again next Wednesday. 9-ish,
Cool.
10-ish?
Yeah, it's the Power Hour-ish.
Ish.
10-ish. Let's call it 10-ish.
It's the Ish Show.
10-ish.
Brought to you by Lance Bill, Attorney at Law. Thank you, sir. I think he has like a little logo. Somewhere around
Figure it
here.
out.
Yeah, we'll spin it at some point.
Yeah.
Don't you worry, Lance. We're working for you.
Yeah, we like you, Lance.
Yeah, we like you. La la.